Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gretchen's Guidance. It is day 17, and we are talking about, is it how you talk that is hindering you from your purpose? And I'm not meaning a Southern accent, thank goodness, right? Even though a Southern accent does hurt me sometimes, and I try really hard to not be Southern as much as I can. But I just don't say my vowels correctly, but I try really hard to not be Southern. So we're going to be talking about a different way of talking, and you're either going to be offended by this or you're going to be glad I'm talking about this. So we'll just have to see how it goes. I haven't downloaded day 16 yet. I've recorded it, but I went to church last night and the message was good. The music was good, and I usually sleep really well after I go to church. So I was out like a light last night, so I haven't downloaded it yet, but I will do that today, and I'll also download this one as well. So day 16 is already recorded. It just needs to be downloaded, and then here's day 17 for today. Okay, so let's jump in because I've got a lot to say about this, and I hope it will speak to you. God has put it on my heart. While I was getting ready today, I was writing stuff down in my notebook, and so I know that it needs to get out there. And I hope some people will listen. I hope some people will share this message, because that's why I'm on here, is to talk about God and what He wants us to do and what He has told us to do and what works and what doesn't work. And I can tell you, if it's in the Bible for us to do it and we don't do it, we're not going to have as much success in life as if we're listening to the Bible and reading to the Bible and doing what it says. So this does definitely come from the Bible. All right. So what I'm talking about is what you sound like, what you talk like is your language. I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but bad language is much more prevalent today than it was. So when I was growing up, there were not shows on TV that said bad words. You could not find them. If it said a bad word, then they weren't allowed on the air. Okay? And now, of course, some of the things that my son watches and my older daughter watches, I'm just like, oh my goodness, because I just can't believe how freely bad words are said. And just like on YouTube, there's certain things that I say that YouTube will edit my videos and they will take certain things out that I'm very surprised at. But, you can freely say the F word on YouTube or whatever. So we're going to talk about, if you're a person that curses or cusses in your daily speech, just how you talk, it's like part of your vocabulary, then you're definitely going to want to listen to this, because you don't know how this is affecting you. And I'm going to tell you how it's affecting you. And I bet you have not thought of this. I bet you have not heard of this. And so I think it will really help you. And if you are someone who hears it and doesn't know what to do, then I'm also going to share something about that with you all too. Okay? So, the first reason why you should not curse, okay? And like I said, I'm meaning if you're in your daily language, that's the way you talk. It's part of your vocabulary. The reason why you should not is, number one, is disrespectful. Okay, so my dad has told me that you never date a guy that curses in front of a woman. It's disrespectful. And if they do that, that's going to show you what's to come in the relationship. There's going to be more disrespect. If they do that one thing, it's a red flag that there's going to be more disrespect in the relationship, because it's disrespectful to curse really in front of anyone. Okay, and so I can share this story with you all. You all know that I go to the gym, and sometimes there's opportunities in there to meet someone to go out with on a date. But I pretty much kind of stay in my zone and I work out, and I'm there to work out. I have a few like female acquaintances that I talk to. When I go to the gym, and of course the people that own the gym that I see going in and out of the gym, I'll talk to them. I know them well. But I pretty much stay in my zone for the most part at the gym. Well, there was this guy, and so my prayer routine, which you all know, I get up and I write in my journal, which I've been trying to get up early and do this first thing. And it's been going pretty good so far. But anyway, I get up early, and very first thing, I spend alone time with God. I have this prayer that I say, and I know in the Bible it says that you should not have routine prayers. You shouldn't have repetitive prayers that say the same thing. But for some reason, wherever I have lived in my life, probably for about the past 15 years, I have prayed for the people around me. Okay, I pray for my neighborhood. When we lived downtown on a busy street, I would pray for the people that walked by. I would come across someone, I would add them to my prayer journal, and I would pray for them. And so I also have this prayer where I pray for my neighborhood, my town, my family members. It takes me about 20 minutes to get through this prayer in the mornings. And I can say that prayer, while I'm in the shower, while I'm getting ready. Sometimes I say it sitting down. Sometimes I say it when I'm walking around the neighborhood. But nothing happens until I finish that prayer. So I spend my alone time with God. I say my prayer that I say every day. I pray for the schools around us is in that prayer. I pray for places that I used to work, schools that I used to work at. I pray for my daughter, her school. I pray for a lot of different things in that prayer. And so that's kind of my routine. So sometimes after I've dropped my daughter off at school and I go to the gym, I have said that prayer. It's been a morning where I've been real focused, real good. I'm finished. And so if I have at the gym, I will put ear pods in and I'll listen to a Jesus Calling devotional, or I'll listen to R.C. Blake's or something on YouTube, something inspirational. Now, if I go to the gym in the evening, I'll usually put it on music. So this particular morning, I had not finished saying my prayers. So I had my ear pods in, but they weren't playing. And I was just kind of saying that prayer as I was working out the best that I could. Because I don't switch over to anything until I've said that prayer. That's just kind of how I am, because I don't have a good day if I don't do that. So I was saying my prayers on this workout machine as I was, working out, and there was a gentleman talking to another gentleman, and I had seen him before. Very nice looking man, and I had seen him before. I kind of knew who he was. It's not a very big gym, so I pretty much know a lot of people that go there because I've gone there for 4 years now. And this gentleman was talking to his friend, and he was saying GD and the F word so much. And I'm sitting here trying to say my prayers, right? Well, it's hard. And I'm like, why does he feel like he can just freely speak that way when there's other people around, And I was hearing that, and I couldn't finish my prayer. Well, of course, he had no idea that I was listening and feeling that way. Okay, so I'm not trying to be judgmental or ill towards him, but that's just how it was affecting the situation. And so fast forward on down the road a little bit, he approached me in the gym one day and asked me if I wanted to go get coffee. Okay, and so and like I said, he's a nice looking man. He works out. He goes to the gym, very appealing. It was very tempting, but I told him, no. And he kind of, we talked a little bit more. And so the Bible says that you should gently lead the person back, whoever's cursing, gently lead them back to where they need to be. And so I was very nervous. I was very uncomfortable to have this conversation with him. But here, it's God. He's got it on my heart. I know I need to share it and all of those things. And I said, can I tell you why I don't want to go have coffee with you? And he was like, well, yeah, sure, And I said, when you're in the gym, it's the way you talk, the language that you use. Like, I just think that's very disrespectful. And I just wanted you to know that even though you're very attractive and it's very tempting, but just simply because of the way that you talk and the language that you use, I had to tell you no. And I just wanted you to know that. And so that's just kind of how I handled that situation. I know that I've mentioned my ex-husband's grandfather before. Very, very humble, honorable man. And if we were out to eat or something, it didn't happen very much though, because he passed away. I've noticed cursing in the last 5 years has really become prevalent in our society. But sometimes we would go out to dinner with him and there would be someone, he would hear someone say a curse word like, the D word or the S word, nothing like the F word or GD or anything like that. And he would just kindly go up to him and say, hey, I'm over here, I'm trying to have a meal with my family, and would you mind not using that language while I'm trying to eat my meal? And of course the person was like, oh, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, because he was an older man and very humble, and oh, I'm so sorry, and so that's kind of how he would handle that situation. And so that taught me to do the same. So number 2. Number 1 is disrespectful of why you shouldn't use bad language. Number 2, someone's going to repeat it. Now, I can tell you story and story after this, okay? So, there was a time back when I was teaching kindergarten, and we would do morning time, and we would come and sit in a circle on the carpet. And, usually I would teach, and my assistant was in there, or if I had an intern, or, sometimes there were people in and out of the room, and, the kids would sit down and it would be quiet and listening, or I would offer them to share something. Sometimes they wanted to share something. So one of the little boys raised his hand and said, my daddy said, and he said the F word last night. Okay. And so you can imagine in this little kindergarten classroom, everybody was like, because I can tell you what, those kids would, for us in the kindergarten classroom, it was the F word was fart, right? The B word was baby. The S word was stupid. That is how we communicated. They thought hate was a bad word. And I would tell them hate is not a bad word. It's a strong word that we don't want to use, to hurt someone's feelings. But it is a strong word, okay? So when they're hearing the F word, like the real F word, everybody was, and it just happened to be that the principal was in there doing an observation when the child said that, right? So rewind, right? This parent has said it in front of this child, not realizing the impact that it's going to have. Now, you may not have kids, but you might have nieces, nephews, whoever. You've got to be around someone sometime that's younger than you, and they're going to hear it and they're going to repeat it. And so I called this child's dad and, said, hey, I just want to share with you if you could talk to your child tonight about what they said, and this was the situation, and it was quiet and everyone heard it, and blah, 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 blah. And so of course the dad is like, oh, well, I didn't say at first where the child had heard it from. And of course the dad was like, oh yeah, I got to talk to his mom. His mom says that word a lot, And I'm like, no, actually he said he heard it from you, and it's like you could hear crickets, like, okay, and I'm like, where do you think he heard it from? Where do you, if he didn't hear it from you or he didn't hear it from his mom, where do you think he heard it from? And, you know, because I'm kind of at an age where I can kind of I'm like Grandma Gretchen now to a lot of these parents. So I'm kind of at the age where I can be more free with that kind of conversation. And so he's like, well, he might have heard it from like a movie. We were watching Chucky the other night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and or some type of scary movie that's an R-rated movie. And I'm like, this is the kind of things that the younger generation just doesn't, you know, pay attention to as much. You know, back in the day, I know I'm sounding like Grandma Gretchen again. Back in the day, if your parents were going to watch an R-rated movie, they put the kids to bed, right? Put them asleep and then watch the movie. Or if they were going to go out to have a beverage, an adult beverage, they would get a babysitter, okay? And then they would go out and have a beverage, okay? And I'm going to circle back to that, okay? So I told the dad, I said, if you want to watch an R-rated movie, that's fine. But you need to put such and such to bed first and then turn on the movie. Because what's going to happen is, which, you know, I know he's hearing it from the movie and dad and mom probably. But anyway, the dad wanted it wanted to say it was coming from a movie. So I said, you know, so you because what's going to happen is your child's going to come back to school and he is going to repeat it. And it's going to be other children are going to hear it and they're going to go home and the first thing they're going to say is such and such said the F word and, you know, da 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 da. And, you know, and then it's going to be heard at school. It was heard in front of the principal and everyone else. And so, you know, somebody's going to repeat it. So you might think it's not a big deal, but actually these words have impact. You know, the Bible says that the tongue is small, but it is huge, right? If you look at a cruise ship that's huge on the water and you looked at what made it go across the water, you would think, wow, how in the world does that happen? It's the same thing with our tongue. Our tongue is what tells others. It's how we project ourselves, okay? And it is, you know, it's very important. It's small, but it's extremely important. And it says in the Bible that, you know, you'd rather have a steak dinner, you know, or you would rather have nothing to eat or not have a good dinner and eat by yourself than have a steak dinner with a nagging wife, right? Or that's kind of how I interpret it. It doesn't say that exactly, but that's how I interpret it. So it's very, very important. Your tongue is so important. It also says not to have perverse talk or foul language and all of those things. Okay, so it's disrespectful, number one. Number two, someone is going to repeat it. Number three is it's not biblical, right? So if you're cursing and that's your talk, that is not biblical at all. It says that we are to use our tongues to encourage, to praise the Lord, right? That's what our tongues are for. It is not biblical to use that type of language, okay? So it says that in the Bible, and as we've talked about before, the Bible is alive, it's real, it works. If you apply it to your life, you will have very much success. And so it said, like I said, it says it in the Bible that our tongue is to encourage. It is not to put down. It is not to curse. It is to encourage others. And your tongue is to show others what Jesus is like, right? And I don't remember Jesus cursing, going around to the villages and preaching and using bad words. So it's something that is very, very important for us to use good and encouraging language. Okay, number 4 is it's counterproductive, right? So you might think that you're looking cool or whatever it is, the reason that you use that language, maybe to get your point across, maybe to look cool, maybe because other people in your group talk that way, whatever it is counterproductive. Okay, so you're thinking that you using that language is helping you in some way, but really it's making you look less than your full potential. Because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get to our full potential. Here's my speech impediment again. We're trying to get to our full potential, right? And to get to our highest level. And if you talk and you use curse words, you're not ever going to get there. So it seems very simple, but you're not ever going to get to your highest level if that is how you talk and that is how you speak. And the problem is if you do it enough, that you are not going to even realize that you're doing it. It's going to become the way you speak. You're going to say that, and you're not even going to know that you're using those types of words because it's going to become common language to you. I mean, there are times where I am checking out at the store, if it's not self-checkout, which is hardly never. But if there's actually a person at the cash register, there are times that they are cursing, employees are cursing to each other, while I'm checking out in front of a customer. And I'm telling you, I know I'm sounding like Grandma Gretchen, and I'm probably, y'all were thinking you need to get with the world because that's the way it is. But I don't understand that. Like when I was growing up and I worked behind a cash register at a golf course, taking orders and ringing things up, I mean, if I didn't look the customer in the eye and tell them thank you and talk to them and ask them what they wanted and was not completely attentive on that customer, then it was my parents' business, but they would get on to me. And now, how have we gone from that to where you look at a customer in the eye and you say, hi, how are you doing today? What would you like? Are you hungry for pimento cheese? You want a cheeseburger? What do you want today? And a lot of times you would have a 5-minute conversation with that person and you say, well, I just thank you so much. Let me know if you need anything else. I'll bring it to your table. That's how you talk to customers. How have we gone from that to the person does not even know that you're there, right? And not only that, but they're cursing, not mad at their coworker. It's just the way they talk. And, it's just not okay. It's not okay to be like that. And I can also say, I try to tell my kids when they're watching TV, you have to be so important what you let into your spirit, what you watch and what you do. And of course my kids are like, oh, my mom, she don't know what she's talking about, blah, 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 da, da, da. And I'll say, then why, when you watch a movie that's scary or an R-rated movie and you go to bed, you have nightmares? Because it gets in your spirit, right? And I'm the same way when I'm watching TV. I am not going to pick something that has a bunch of language in it. I'm going to pick a show that has not much language. So like my son and I, when we get together, we watch SWAT. That's our show. And I don't think, if there is language, it's very minimal in there, okay? If my daughter and I are watching TV, we watch Young Sheldon. That's the show we like to watch together. And I think it's just the grandma that cusses in that movie or that show. I love that grandma on that show. She's so funny. But anyway, or the dad will sometimes say it. But it's usually minimal, and I don't even really like that, but my daughter really likes that show, and it's to a level where it's doable. Okay, but if I'm watching a movie, I don't really go above PG-13. I know it sounds silly. I watch love stories. I watch just happy little shows that make me happy, that make me sleep good at night. I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news since high school. I don't read the newspaper. I mean, you just have to really be careful about what you let in your spirit, because some things you'll read about and it'll stick with you the whole entire day and just really traumatize your day. So I'm also very particular with language with the shows that I watch. By the way, if you're wanting a good love story movie, The Chosen. It's actually it's a movie about a Nicholas Sparks book, and I'm pretty sure it's called The Chosen on Netflix. It has a little bit of language in it, but I think it's rated PG-13. But there's not much language in it at all, just here and there a little bit. But it is called The Chosen. Oh my goodness, it is like the best love story. You will love it if you watch that movie. It's really good. And if you're needing a movie for, anytime soon, that's a great one to watch. Okay, so I know I sounded like Grandma Gretchen, and I know I probably sounded annoying and judgmental, but I'm hoping that when we hear someone using that language, and if it's striking you, and if it's, bouncing off of your spirit and giving you like the red flag vibes and the beep, 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 the little red like you hear on TV, then you can go up to the person and say, hey, like very humbly, very gently, just say, hey, like, I don't know if you know or not, but I can overhear you, and I'm trying to enjoy my time, and it's just really hard with the language you're using. Do you mind just turning it off? Oh, I forgot to circle around back to the kids. You put the kids to bed and then you turn on the R-rated movie is what I'm having to say a lot to this younger generation of parents. The other thing is, I know that breweries have cute little play areas for the kids, and we have one in Winston where the kids can ride their scooters around while the parents are drinking and all that kind of stuff, and it looks great. It looks wonderful. I'm sure the parents are thinking, I get to be with my kids and be here, and they get to have fun. But I'm going to tell you that back in the day when I used to teach kindergarten, one of my students came in and they had a cigarette burn on their finger. Right? So, of course, I'm immediately calling the mom and like, what is going on? And she told me that they were at a brewery and they were having fun with his friends. And when he came up to talk to his mom, the person next to her had a cigarette and he got burnt with it. Okay? So, I don't think younger parents think about that. So that's why when you are at a brewery, you might just be having an innocent, great time. Your kid, get a babysitter and go out and enjoy being an adult and let them be at home with the babysitter and their friends there. Get a babysitter for the group of friends, and you can go out with your friends as adults, and the kids can stay at home with the sitter, because that's just the way it should be. It should be separate. There should be adult time and there should be kid time, right? And so I'm just seeing a lot of things. That's another place where kids are going to pick up some language and then they're going to repeat it. And you're going to immediately think, I knew I shouldn't have taken them there. I knew I should have listened to my heart and got a babysitter, right? Or hopefully you're thinking that. And just listen to that voice, because there's just, or the way our society is everything is just kind of together. We watch the R-rated movies together as a family. We go to the brewery together to get a beer, where it needs to go back to being this boundary as adult time, and I think it's really, really important to think about those things, because guess what? You might go on a job interview and that person had a bad experience with you from the language that you used, and it keeps you from getting a job. You just don't know. But I can tell you it has a ripple effect, and I can tell you that people listen and they hear, and it's going to be counterproductive. It's going to somehow come back against you. And I know that because it's in the Bible. And it says it in the Bible. And the Bible is truth. All right. So I hope this spoke to you. And I hope that maybe if it's not you, maybe you can gently share it with someone else. Okay? Because I would love to go out in the world and hear people encouraging each other. I am tired of going to the grocery store, going to the gym, going to all kinds of places, restaurants, even though we don't go out to eat much, it's gotten so expensive. And hearing language, it's just so discouraging. You know, wouldn't it be great to go out in the world and hear people encouraging each other? Like, that's the way we talk. That's just naturally how we talk. You know, because when I go through Walmart, and even if it's the self-checkout, okay, and there's 6 other people there and there's one attendant, I still try to say something to them like, oh, I like your nails. Your nails are pretty, you know, or, hey, like, how do I put the amount of lemons that I have in the cash register, and, you know, or on the screen, you know, try to make a conversation with them, because that's how God made us, to be connected and to encourage. And so I hope that this helps you, and I hope you'll be one of those encouraging people out there. And you might see me sometime and I might not be encouraging. It's something that I try to work on, of course. And so if you see me and I'm not encouraging someone else, then I would like for you to gently pull me aside and say, hey, Grandma Gretchen, you know, I don't have any grandkids, but I'm just getting older. You're not being very encouraging, and your video said to encourage others. So I'm not perfect. I'm not Jesus, but I'm just hoping that we can start trying to have this mindset together. Okay, so remember, now I made sure that I had my coffee mug in here. I made sure of it. So where is it? It's over there on the kitchen counter. Hang on a minute. We gotta stir up some love. Don't know why it's over there, because before I started, I made sure that I had my board up here and that I had my coffee mugs. I don't know what happened. Okay, so remember, stir up love, not hate, and use those encouraging words today. All right, bye-bye, and thank you for watching, and please share with someone so that we can have a nice, happy talk world. All right, bye-bye.